Starting now. We're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another roundtable discussion live stream. Tonight we have myself, we have Bob, we have Captain, Magi, and Michelle. Please remember, if you like the stream, to like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you would share, and if you want to see more of us in the future, or just me, please subscribe. And don't forget to tick the bell thing to get notifications. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Mandela Effect. Everybody here in the roundtable is affected by the Mandela Effect. So we're going to talk about our experiences with it and different theories that we subscribe to, what's causing it, what it means, etc., etc. So I'll just start off explaining about myself. I'll do it very briefly because I have in the previous video before. So I found out about the Mandela Effect late 2016, and the first one I was sure of was when I looked online and saw that South America was in a different position. And then I found Australia was in a different position, and New Zealand in a different position, and on and on and on and on and on. And there are many brand names, movie quotes, titles that I can be 100% certain, as certain as anyone can be in my own mind, that they have definitely changed. The other one that was really, the Bible changes, many of those, which are really significant, and I can be sure there are changes in the Bible as well. But, so basically, I found out in 2016, and like many people who first find out about it, they then start to realise they've been affected by this for many years before. So what I'd like to do first of all is, if we just take turns and go through the guests, the other panel members, and ask them when they first found out about it, when they think they were first affected, and what are the most notable effects for them. So the first one on the left on my screen is Bob. So away you go, Bob.
I'm more interested in talking about a different part of Mandela Effect, but the short version of how I got introduced to the Mandela Effect, my ears started to ring overnight, and it was very unusual for the right age for tinnitus, but tinnitus creeps up on you. You don't wake up with it being overt. So it started with ringing in the ears, and all the investigation that I did led to the Mandela Effect, and it was the Mandela Effect plus I was listless, I had brain fog, I had fibromyalgia-like symptoms. I don't have fibromyalgia, but fatigue, joint pain, swelling. It was pretty uncomfortable for quite a while. I was also fortunate enough to figure out for my personal self the way to manage what I was going through was to go vegan. That was a big reprieve for me to get enough relief to pay more attention to the esoteric side of the Mandela Effect and a whole load of conspiracy theories that just seem to pop into YouTube. I never remember seeing all this NWO and Illuminati and chemtrails and flat Earth, and it's just very curious. So I didn't take any of the videos seriously until I paid attention, and once I started to pay attention, I realized I was objecting proactively to what they were saying, and it wasn't that I was misremembering. The main change that got me, and I'm not a Christian, was the wolf and the lamb, the Lord's Prayer with trespassers being changed by debtors. There's a lot of different things out there. It progresses. You start having personal ones, and you find yourself within a community suddenly. I'm talking about myself, and I don't really care that much about the Mandela effect as much as I care about the people that I met, the open-minded individuals who are interested in French, and I don't care what kind of flavor of crazy each one has. They're comfortable at displaying it. That's our biggest uniqueness, is our crazy, as long as it's not destructive and crossing boundaries. So yeah, that's, it's not the proper answer, but it's my answer. Is there a prize again today?
There might be later. You've
All
got
right.
a bowl of my soup.
Socks. Nylons.
Okay. What about yourself, Captain?
Well, for me, I look at more as a spiritual experience that I went through. The Mandela Effect I kind of found out later, and I see it as with a lot of what society is paying attention to, and which is awakening a lot of people. So I see it as more of a catalyst, um, uh, but definitely it's definitely important to notice those changes. But I also believe it's to not to get stuck there. Let's um, try to see what's beyond that. Okay, if that's possible, then maybe we can expand our minds for some of those that are more closed-minded, and forge on through their paths and through their travels as we're here on this construct we find ourselves in.
Okay. And yourself, Magi?
Yeah, I too see it more as a spiritual awakening. I do recall the movie lines. I think the first one was "Build it, he will come," and then I kind of thought maybe it was being broadcast on a the regular TV, and I thought maybe they had changed the. I know sometimes they'll go in and edit if it's not prime time, and I went to the clips and seen it there too. And when I did that on the sidebar, there was a whole bunch of Mandela Effect, mostly young kids at that time, that was kind of making a game out of it. I recall that, and ventured on from there. And like Bob, seen the Bible changes, the product changes, the logos. And but I do see it as a trigger for a spiritual awakening, definitely now. So that's about it.
Okay. Just to let you know, you're breaking up for me again because I'm still listening to you in Discord, so just so you're aware of that tonight. And Michele?
The Mandela Effect, if anybody's been listening to my testimonies and stuff, they know that 2012 I had this awakening. Like I said, I likened it to what I would call a Holy Spirit baptism. I didn't have anything else to reference it against, but just by having at least that little bit of knowledge with it, it helped me to move forward and not be so afraid of what the heck is going on. And when I came across the Mandela Effect, to me it looked like, okay, now we're having outward signs in our world that we can manifest and that this world is changeable. And the one that really affected me was at the time I was looking through my Bible, and I just read a scripture, and it said that Caesar's space is on the denarius. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, And then the next day I looked into the Bible and it said that Caesar's face is on the penny. And I'm like, what? And then, you know, it was like an electrical, vibrational feeling that I had that like zinged my whole body. Now, a lot of different things, you know, that people have seen that change, you know, they don't have that kind of effect, but there's certain ones that have that, you know, personal effect on me that it's like, oh my gosh, it's no denying. You know, even the movie with Brad Pitt, I'm going straight from biblical into theater movies. But Brad Pitt, he's been my favorite for a very long time. He's very hot. But he played in Interview with a Vampire. And then when that changed to Interview with the Vampire, I'm like, no. It's not true. That's wrong. First of all, he's not the only vampire in the movie, so even the statement itself doesn't make sense. And I remember the red A in Interview with a Vampire. So it's exciting to me to see that this is going on. It makes me, you know, think like, okay, how pliable is this? How much influence do we have as people on it? And what can we do with this? What kind of growth can come out of it? But yeah, that's my experience that I've had with the Mandela Effect.
Okay, thank you. Just to clarify, for anybody who's watching this, who isn't yet completely sure they understand what we mean by the Mandela Effect, the Mandela Effect is where we're seeing changes to our reality. And we're not just talking about, oh, Nestle decided to change their logo. It's, for example, the logo will change, but it will always have been that way. So for most people, it hasn't changed. But for a significant proportion of the population, it has changed. And to them, it's changed in an impossible way, because to them, they remember the way it used to be, which has never existed. For example, in the Bible, the quote of the lion laid down with the lamb, or the lion and the lamb, that's changed. It's never been that way. And what is it now? It's a wolf and the lamb, I think. So, and people are seeing these changes, as impossible as it sounds. They're actual physical Bibles themselves. In some cases, Bibles that people have owned in their family for over 100 years. Literally the ink on the page itself is changing. I remember, for example, when I was trying to explain to somebody I know about the Mandela Effect, and they were very into Disney stuff, and especially like Mickey Mouse. And this particular Sunday, I thought, because one of the Mandela effects at that point had been that Mickey Mouse no longer had ever worn suspenders. So I was checking on Google just to make sure that that was still the case, because these things can flip-flop, before I went to see them. Anyway, so I checked this Sunday, and then I think it was on the Wednesday, somebody told me there's been another Mandela effect affecting Mickey Mouse. He's now got a tail. And so I'm like, no way. I'd only been looking at like loads and loads of photos of Mickey Mouse 3 or 4 days ago. No tail in sight. Google it, and suddenly Mickey Mouse has got a tail. And then I hear stories of people who actually own Mickey Mouse memorabilia, which suddenly, literally in their own homes, sprouted tails. And then it was about a week later, suddenly Minnie Mouse also had a tail. And it's not just they've just decided to put a tail on them, they have always had a tail. So this is why the Mandela Effect is so mind-bending, because it doesn't only change the present, it changes the past as well. So I just want to clarify that for people who just think, oh, these people just got faulty memories. And this is affecting hundreds of thousands of people, if not more, across the world, in every country. Okay, so Bob, do you want to say what you think is going on and why? Should we talk about that?
I would want to start off by saying that I don't care what's going on in the sense of the background mechanics of what we're experiencing. I am open to any possibility that anybody offers. It's their perspective. Some of them are interesting. It helps exercise creativity. But rather, I look at Mandela Effect as a bell ringing. And certain people within the radius of these bells are able to hear that bell. Not everybody can. So these individuals, through social media and the platform that was built to connect the world, are congregating. We found the same I really don't know how to classify it, but similarities, but not similar and different at the same time. It's very diverse, eclectic group from different ages, different parts of the world. And as far as I'm concerned, that is more than the prize, is finding the other individuals. Because in this reality, I can't imagine anything more valuable than a friendship or fellowship with other people. That's it.
Thanks. I just want to point out, Sika says something in chat, which is very relevant and is good for clarification for viewers. And she says, and we all remember the same details of how we remember it used to be. And that's actually really relevant. It's not just everyone has a different memory that's of a different way it used to be. We all remember the same. Well, not all the time. Sometimes there's a few different versions. But large numbers of people have exactly the same memory. So that's what's very unusual about this as well. What would you like to say, Captain? Or does everyone just want to jump in? Well, go on, Captain, and then just everyone jump in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Bob. Pay attention more to the experience. I believe is the more important part, and the mechanics will come to the knowing from within us. It'll come to knowing. You'll come to know that you know. Just as in love, if you haven't experienced love, you can't really explain it in words. But once you've experienced love, then someone's definition of love, you could, mind, body, and soul embrace what they were talking about. So, and that's the knowing that I'm talking of, and it's interesting. It's for me, it's definitely been a roller coaster ride, but a fun one. The good and the bad, and the waves of it comes in. The Mandela Effect was definitely interesting to see how people were affected by it differently, and it's good to see people excited about it and investigating and researching, and also bringing them to other different lanes of research and to expand their mind. And as for me, I continue to research now, and I see it as endless. I don't see as coming to a point to where knowing all. It's all about teaching and learning, helping each other out. We all go through stages at different times, how I see it, and someone might have been through a stage that I haven't been through, and I might have been through some stages that someone else hasn't been through. So.
Yeah, so I remember that feeling of universal love as well. That effectively the end of 2012 or 2013, and that was really life-changing, completely life-changing. So yeah, I remember that. definitely. So what do you think's going on, Magi?
I have to agree with them. I'd say it sounds like to me, it was a calling or for the gathering, for like-minded people. I agree with Bob that, we're not all on the same page. And I definitely agree with Secret that we see that's an event in itself, that we're not just seeing things, we're seeing pretty much the same things. You'll find on a few occasions where they don't line up, but I'd say at least 85% do. And to me, it was a calling. Look where we've ended up, where we've found people that were very like-minded, and obviously at that time or this time, those are the only ones hearing it. They're hearing the calling and they're finding each other.
Okay. I know it's Michelle's turn. May I add something to what I just said? The gathering was the first part of it. Once there was Congress, we ended up developing a new dynamic of interaction, a new template, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
The theme of our fellowship is unity and diversity. And based on that principle, we have learned to transform from a dualistic interaction into a dichotomous one that branches out, meaning that I talk about apples, my friend gets triggered or activated about a concept that he can apply to oranges now. So it's transferable knowledge that you can't really learn without experience. However, we're finding out that together you shine a bit of a brighter light into where we want to go as the human race, where it's about compassion, but with order and discipline. There's some zero tolerance aspects in nature. We see with the predator and the prey, so it's in the design, but it doesn't have to make you afraid. It just has to make you aware that there's consequences if you want to be able to have access to more resources and capabilities. Whatever you create and draw out from that manifestation is going to possibly impact other people. And as much as we're a sovereign being, our boundary of free will ends when it starts to infringe on somebody else's. So that has to be second nature before you end up letting go of debating with somebody and instead creating a fertile ground for good conversation. And the pragmatic outcome of this has been apparent, and it's impacting us in our daily lives. So in a virtual platform where basically consciousness is communicating without looking at body language, looking at all the other cues of communication that we use that surpass the verbal component, is still able to make this template work. There are emotions, there are people who get ruffled up, and our intention isn't to have a zen, smooth environment and kind of numb everybody from their emotions. Rather, it is to be able to tolerate, and instead of reacting, respond to what somebody else says, even if it seems to be the polar opposite of what we're hearing, and we're looking in concepts of good or evil. It becomes a point of perspective. So that's what we're enhancing as our perspective, and not as high, going to the highest point and looking at things. That's not very useful. It's more being able to see through the eyes of our friends from all aspects, from under the water, from in space, from whatever our imagination affords us, that's a lens into a creative dimension. That's it.
Also,
Yeah. What does anyone else think about that?
I make stuff up all the time.
Oh, you don't. The only thing I was going to say is what I saw from it, and I agree. I agree with Captain that don't get stuck. Don't get stuck at just looking at that, because realize get to the realization that that there's a possibility that we are the cause and the effects are showing up around us in our reality, and then learn from there. And Bob had a good point that it has to do with realizing we have more in common, and that the love that we have for each other, the respect. We don't always see eye to eye on everything, and but we respect each other. We walk away as friends, and that's a beautiful thing in itself. Instead of arguing until you're red in the face and stomping off angry, we agree to disagree, and we walk away shaking hands with love in our heart. When you're going through this experience, these journeys, all these different amazing things that are going on with us, there's different things that each of us take away from different areas of the journey, and no two seem to be alike. No two seem to be in any set order, and we're all learning and growing from them. And by seeing the Mandela effect, to me, I got excited because I thought, okay, evidence of things that are that it was like proof to me that we have an impact. We from what was going on from 2012, and I think it was somewhere in what 2000, late 2015, early 2016, when this ME effect started to take off, and we started seeing all these changes. Now that's no amount of time, actually. In just a few years is really, it's really no amount of time at all, to see things already starting to show up on the world stage, so to speak, that is being changed and affected. And the biggest takeaway that I get from it is, how does it affect each of us? What are we going to do with, if this is to show us that we're able to manipulate, change, and manifest? Everybody that I've met so far, their hearts are so cracked wide open that lack will go away. Balance will come into place. Things will change, and it could be, just a matter of once we hit over the 50 percentile range of people that understand they're able to do this, that somebody could wake up the next day and I think Magi can correct me if I'm wrong on this. The meek shall inherit the earth. Well, let's say you're destitute one day, and then you wake up the next day and your bank account's full, and you've got a roof over your head, and you got food in your fridge, and you're like, what the heck just happened? Did I just inherit the earth? Who knows what kind of a profound effect it would have on somebody, that was living paycheck to paycheck or meal to meal, and then all of a sudden they wake up and their cabinets are full. They would feel so blessed and with such a gift. But yeah, I know I'm rambling, but it's just, there's so much to it, and I know that we don't know. I mean, that's one thing I'm sure we can all agree on, that we don't know exactly what is going on at this point. We know something's going on, but we don't know exactly what it is as of yet. We're just kind of going along for the ride, and it's exciting. It brings me hope. I'm excited, and I feel blessed to have met the people I've met, these wonderful people that have come into my life that I would have never even known had these things not have happened. So I feel lucky and blessed, and I am excited about what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's liberating, to know that reality is changeable. And, it certainly appears it's us, to me, it's us that's doing it. It's our consciousnesses collectively that's doing it. And science is showing how that can happen, with those famous experiments. What is it, the 100 monkey experiment and the double slit experiment? the random number machine experiments, remote viewing. We know that our physical reality can and is affected by our consciousness. So this seems to me just an extension of that. That for some reason we're more able now to have more conscious control and a greater effect on our physical reality than we assume we have in the past. So that brings into the law of one and the law of attraction and the secret, what that writes about, the fact that we are a collective awareness and consciousness, and this is our reality. We are all individually making it all the time, subconsciously, but now more and more subconsciously. I think that's exciting and liberating, but it's also a bit terrifying, as I can imagine for some people.
Yeah, I do
You
agree
have
with
to
you
be more in
there.
control of your thoughts.
Right.
Sorry, Captain, go on.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Watching your previous episode on it, I believe you hit it head on, right on the target. It's definitely, I think we're being more conscious of our abilities to create, and it's definitely a beautiful thing. And creation of beyond things beyond beauty, I believe we'll be capable of in the future. Just my views on it.
Yeah, I mean, so many of humanity feel powerless, don't they? They just feel disempowered and like they're little more than an insect. That in terms of their ability to affect the world and the direction of the world. And what more can we ask for than to be given this knowledge and greater ability to do just that? And it proves that we are powerful collectively and even individually on a small scale. But who knows where this is going to lead? How much more? What's the word? Who knows if in the future we're not going? This is not just a start, and we're not going to get even greater ability as time goes on to change things.
Yeah, I definitely.
I can change my laptop to a pink laptop.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's a lot more, definitely a lot more to come. Just slowly but surely, it's like, learn to ride a bike, got your training wheels, and then you start to learn to ride without them. So you can't just hop on and go. You're probably gonna wreck a couple times. So you got to crawl before you walk.
And do you think that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Were you done, Captain?
Yes, I'm done.
Do you think that maybe that's possibly why the journey is that we go on? Is this for a purpose that we're learning, and we're learning humility, we're learning how to open up our heart, we're learning empathy, forgiveness, and part of these stages that we all go through on this journey. Like I said previously, I know you guys saw it. It's not an easy journey, and I'm not going to try and make it sound like it's all roses and sunshine, because some of the lessons that I had to learn were difficult ones, and it was my own self getting in my way. But when we get through those, I mean, I'm not the same person that I was before this experience. I'm changing, and I progressively am changing. My heart is changing. The things that I would want back 10 years ago to now are completely polar opposite. And it seems like as these changes are manifesting around us in the world, but so are we. We're changing in our hearts. So, anybody have anything to collaborate with that or feel the same way, or am I all alone in this?
No, I'm definitely with you on that. The experiences that I went through, I call it a crash course, a spiritual experience, and it definitely parts of it. It seemed like I was getting drugged through hell, but it definitely made me a better person. I gained a lot of knowledge of knowing certain things and certain aspects of this construct, um, and that I was closed eyes to before, wasn't really paying attention to. Um, and definitely I would do it again. And I do believe it was necessary, and I do believe it is an experience that it's gonna, as we all wake up in our own pace, it'll be better for humanity as we get to the end of it. And so to speak, we always talk about taking the puzzle pieces and put it together. We all have our own puzzle piece and putting that together and making that picture. And once we gain our own piece and walk our own path and get to the destination, we could figure out what that picture is going to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. It seems like I'm
Yeah.
assuming here that
I agree. I think everyone who realizes they've been affected by it gets profoundly changed. I know, at least for me, it's profoundly changing. And, a lot of this stuff that I'm now looking into and interested and learning about, I used to think was just a lot of rubbish, to be honest with you, a lot of it before. I would never have given it any credence at all. But when you see your reality changing, then you have to switch your viewpoint and start looking at the reasons why and what that means, and in terms of you as an individual, as well as who and what you are collectively as well. So who do you think's doing it? Is it from like God or
Magi? Did you have something you wanted to say on that?
Yeah, I was just going to add to everybody's point of assemblage that it appeared, from what I've heard in testimony back when we gathered together in fellowship, that we really didn't have a whole lot of people around us to share it. And I think that's probably the initial panic that we were feeling slightly, and some worse than others. There was no one really. I was trying to share here. Some people was like, yeah, I kind of see that. They just didn't quite grasp it the way I was grasping it here back at home anyway. And like I said, I think Bob's right. The calling, and then the gathering, and then the quickening. To me, the quickening is what we're experiencing now. And yeah, go ahead, brother.
I think there's a form of prerequisite in order of what I've noticed personally of growth. The first encounter, it shakes you up, and now you have to choose between love or fear. Is it something horrific that is going to put you in fear and anxiety, or is it something that's exciting you and raising your vibration up higher? Once you develop that model, it never goes away. It's not like I've chosen love this time. You have to constantly make the hard choice and choose love when you're presented with an opportunity to be service to others that has been presented to you in that moment, not one that you've idealized in your mind, and I want to help these people and that people, and it's out of our hands. I believe we have to allow, not to let go of control entirely of ourselves, but not to go against the flow of something that's obvious. And we're getting the theme of letting go, dropping things, letting go of resentments, letting go of negative behavior. And eventually you get to a point where you realize not only the trauma you have to let go of, you also are going to let go of the good memories as well. That's how you empty your cup so it can be filled up again. So if we're looking at this from a perspective of power, in my opinion, we're missing the opportunity to develop the power. It's something that will happen regardless, but if that's our focus, it can become like watching the kettle boil. So to be able to disengage from drama, and it's all our choice, becomes possible after practicing all the different life lessons, universal laws that is moving us to a collective oneness. It doesn't have to be perfect cohesive, but it should be progressive. And as long as it's progressive, that is what consciousness evolution is going to be found in. And I believe it's all about the evolution of consciousness.
Yeah, me too. It's like, it's not just about becoming like an X-Man, an X-Men. It's a lot more to it than, you know. It is about the development of our consciousness. Yeah, because you have to. Because once you realise that your thoughts can affect the physical reality around you in such profound ways, you have no choice, do you, than to become more aware of your self-awareness, to start observing yourself more objectively rather than subjectively. And that, I think, inevitably leads to an understanding of who you are and your behaviors and your emotions and your traumas. So it's almost like a catalyst, I think. It's like giving somebody, once you give somebody a loaded gun and they realize what they can do with it, then a responsible person would realize that they need to be responsible, suddenly start being more responsible. So in a way, it's like that. It's forcing those who are affected by it to look at themselves in a new light. Do you think that's got a connotation as to like why only certain people are affected, or why there seems to, it comes in waves? Does it imply something about the consciousness of those who are affected?
I believe it's the timing when they're ready, the experiences that they've been through that's maybe setting it up for them to for when that veil lifts. Just like what you were just saying, it's not that, we talk about love over fear. It's not that, hey, do love over fear because we're telling you to do it. You start understanding that you pick love over fear because it's the no-brainer because of the experiences you've experienced and things that you've been through, that one will come to that conclusion. So it's not like anything that, say, I'm saying or anybody else I'm saying says that is forcing anything on anybody. It's just from, I know for me, it's just my experience, and then what I agree with others that from experiences they have and that they share.
Can I add to that? I do agree that it is going to be, it's not a separate group of people. It's not a selected, chosen people. It will happen to everybody. When they're ready, it will happen to everybody. I also want to do a shout out. Photo Helix is in the house. I just wanted to say, hey, I love your work, dude.
Yeah, really.
Welcome. And I'm glad that you are in the chat with us. We appreciate it. Much love.
Yeah, another thing I'll add to that, Cap, in my case anyway, and I think in several others, it appears that it's triggered us to look within ourselves and face our own reflection. I think the main battle is within ourselves. And yes, I'm including myself, far from perfect. And I think it caused a lot of us to go deep within. I think we still have a long way to go, but it's not just fear over love. We have to go within, and that battle is really in there, I think, the true battle.
Definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's like your own personal rapture. You're going through your own. The and the Egyptians, the way of the heart.
What I found was most of the time when I thought I was disagreeing or disputing or debating. I was actually debating the other person when I really looked inside, I was actually debating myself. So,
Yeah.
I agree.
Photo Helix in chat made an interesting observation, which is he suggests that lovers of truth seem more affected. What do you think about that?
I totally agree.
Well,
That
now,
was
you
the
know,
part
I
of the
see
like-minded.
logic,
Good.
right?
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah.
Go ahead, brother.
I see logic only taking one so far, and then you get almost hit a roadblock. Uh, that's kind of what it seemed like for me. And then I was looking for the the extra, you know, the missing, and then that's when the experiences started for me slowly but surely. I mean, even going through those experiences, I'm not gonna go deep into it now, but you know, had to make sure everything was the construct that my environment wasn't exactly what I was used to. It was what I would consider normal. So I had to make sure that I wasn't going crazy myself. And once I got past that, then I was able to learn from it. And and uh, you know, and that like I said, it's just the experiences is where you gain that extra knowledge. You know, looking and finding out, like for me, I was looking at the political parties and seeing, Democrat and Republican, and you know, first I could see one side and I could see the other. Then I realized, they're both working together. So then I'm kind of in the middle. Then, so that's kind of the thing. It's like, where do you go from there? And and that's what it showed me. And I see the Mandela effect being part of that experience. I see a lot more people waking up and noticing that, even people that are more sleep, so to speak, what people would call. Um, I could see them, I could show them parts of that, ask them a question, and then show it to them, and it'll blow their mind for a minute, but then they'll get distracted. And so even trying to awaken somebody can be a struggle upon itself. But when if they're ready, they're ready. If they're not, they're not.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would coincide with what Photo Helix said, that if it was love, that would open those doors to the like-minded people. That's what I mean. Those that felt that, maybe not exactly on the same page. Seems like they came from every culture and background, even science. And yet the love aspect still, when I met those people personally, at least in chat or fellowship, yeah, love was still the dominant factor. You could tell. Even in those that were slightly separated, I would always have to say that I still seen that in them as well.
What I like to remind us is the challenge of not deviating from the structural laws of our new realizations. For example, if we understand this is a holographic reality, we shouldn't buy into all that is presented to us at so-called face value that's supposed to incite consistent trauma. We're bombarded by it throughout media, and it's top of mind with a lot of people out there. So holographic reality, vibration. These are concepts that many of us had felt and touched, if not intellectually, but with an inner knowingness. And many people seem to be in agreement that we're not really teaching anybody anything new. We're just helping each other remember. So all it takes, if it's vibrational, is for us to maintain our high vibration and impact others by example, not by preaching or shaking them. Don't wake him up with words. Wake him up with action. Wake him up with joy. Wake him up with attracting them to a space that you're in that is shining. So it's a matter of drawing them in, and to draw people in, you have to have something to offer, and that offer is leading by example. So initially, when a high vibration person comes in contact with a low vibration person, it's a lot easier for the low vibration person to bring the high vibration down. And I'm assuming we all know that one cannot exist in presence of the other. Love cannot exist in presence of fear, and fear cannot exist in presence of love. So when we keep getting beaten down by low vibration, that's where we get that ascension symptom and the need to purge, so we get stronger, so we can vibrate high enough that we end up impacting them. So now, instead of them bringing you down, you're bringing them up. And when they get into their high vibration, they will help bring you up. And this is the idea of what goes around comes around. You receive by giving. Because the entire nature of humanity is by connecting to another person. That's an essential need within us. And those who try to push that away and hear it out in wilderness by themselves, living as a hermit, it's commendable, I guess, but not necessary anymore. It's more relevant to be the Buddha in everyday life than up in the mountain becoming a stone Buddha that you lose touch with a 3D world. This is a very beautiful reality, and we have to understand it's going to have its ups and downs. And right now, we are at a crux where, as a unified group, we are intending to consciously manifest a reality of a new world. And my question to myself would be, are you willing to do the sacrifices that you're putting out there now by doing the right things and not running around like a madman with everybody else, setting things on fire and catching STD? So you contemplate your effort, and your effort, if it's not seen by you, are you still willing to do this? Are you willing to do this for the next generation? Are we going to be that group of people that sacrifice our wants, and to the point where it was painful, for betterment of a brighter future for those who are to follow? And it's all done through vibration. Stick it out. Cultivate that rose that you are. Don't give up on hope. Don't buy into the allure of darkness, because their voices are many.
Endure.
Endure. And be in joy.
I want to add to that. Sometimes it's good just to go and meditate, regroup yourself, and then come back out stronger again. Don't allow people to drag you down. Of course not. The whole idea is to wake people up, but not wake them up with a shaking. Wake them up by example. But I find, for myself, meditating in water. Other people meditate different. I'll either, when I'm laying down to go to sleep, I'll go into meditation, or if I'm in water, it's so calming, and I meditate and regroup and regather myself there, and then the messages are clear, my understanding is better, and then I have more to offer other people. But if I'm running around like using Bob's words, like a crazy person, just running around scatterbrained and all over the place. Well, then I'm not benefiting them, and I'm not benefiting myself. All I'm doing is causing more confusion, and it's not worth it.
Yeah. Can I just welcome Burma? Hey, Burma, I'm glad you could join us.
Hey, Burma.
What would you like to say, Burma?
About the Mandela effect, just in general.
No, yeah,
I mean,
my mic isn't any good.
I mean, that's a loaded question, right?
I can't hear you. Can everyone else hear Burma?
Yeah. Good to
okay, it's just me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Far away.
She needs to pop into Discord. That's why she's not in Discord.
Come on.
No, but far away, Burma. It doesn't matter.
I will. Hold on. Let me pop in there. I'll get there so she can. Can you hear me now? No. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
You're welcome, dear. So, the Mandela effect. I know how it affected me. I feel like I was already slightly awake at the time. So, I mean, you know, it rocked me off my socks. So, I mean, I don't know who's doing it. I don't know if it's you know, if it's partially here and partially there. Like, you know, if CERN has something to do with it, does seem to be like, when you do your research, that they have Mandela effects all over their page. So it's kind of weird. But it definitely wakes people up to the realization of what truly can be in this world, and how powerful each and every one of us actually is. But at that same time, we also need to use just caution, you know, caution on what we say and what we do, and the energy that's pouring out of us, because we are manifesting at such a great rate now. So, I mean, is there anything else? I don't know. I was kind of put on the spot, so I need some coffee.
No, that's great. That's great. Sorry, Captain, go on.
Yeah, I just like to say, you know, whether you know, a lot of people say, well, maybe it's the, you know, government or whatever. You know, you get a lot of gang stalking and things of that nature. Some people think it's spiritual. I think it's a little bit of both. I think everything comes from this planet. Everything comes from this construct. Everything comes from this matrix, simulation. However anyone wants to look at it. And I believe it comes to them in a way that they understand it from their experience in growing up. And the construct tries to explain it to them that way. Or if you want to say yourself explains it to you that way once you start looking within. Some people think they have guardian angels, or some people say it's their higher self, God figures. Whatever it is, I believe all this has to do with trying to explain to each of us what is, and how we fit into the whole, the one, and then finding what we seek, whether it's experiment or whatever it is. I am enjoying going through it.
We kind of create it to some degree. I mean, like, we are creating it, not creating the first initial, but everything after that, right? So if we look at it in a good light, that's what it's going to bring. But if we look at it in the fearful sense, that's what it's going to bring. I mean, I really do believe that. I don't know how you guys feel. What do you guys feel about that?
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's Dean Johnson in chat. He's putting in some quotes, I'm assuming are from scriptures. And it's amazing how relevant they are to the Mandela effect. So, like, predicting this time in Revelations. Magi, you'll know more about that.
Yeah, I can't see the chat.
What's up with that?
So apparently he didn't do the split screen.
You got to bring. You got to bring
read them to him. Read them to him.
Come on, get with the times. What's up? Here comes the
Yeah,
girl
Magi.
starting
Yeah.
the trouble as she comes in.
I don't have the split screen either. I'm not sure if I know how to get
Well, no, what I do is I bring one screen up for us, and then I bring the other one up for YouTube, so this way I can go and look at the chat. Right? That's on my computer though. So if you're on a phone, yeah, I don't know how to do that on there.
I could split screen, but it's gonna kick
Okay.
me out. So.
I'll read some of them out for you. Okay, so Jesus said, "That which you have will save you if you bring it forth from yourselves. That which you do not have within you will kill you if you do not have it within you." That's Thomas 70. Then he's put, "All power in heaven and earth is given unto you." That's Matthew 28, 18 to 19. Then he's put, it didn't quote where this one's from, but "Awake my soul and sing." I don't know if that's a scripture. Then "Awakened, everyone in his own order." 1 Corinthians. Has he put any more? Hold on. "Remember therefore from whence thou art fallen." Revelation 21:5. Has he put any others in? Hold on. No, that's it. That's quite interesting.
Yes, very.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dean. But I agree with what you were saying, that it's if you have a negative, if you view this in a fearful way, that's going to be reflected into your reality, what you fear. And I think most of us who have been on this journey now for a while have seen that firsthand, that what is in your thought process and therefore the emotions you emit definitely affect the reality around you, which is all portrayed in the law of attraction and the law of one. So it's all tied in together. So the key is to try and keep yourself, when people say a higher vibration, I think they mean a more positive mindset. So you're not descending into the fear. I mean, you go on YouTube and you go on conspiracies and it's fear, 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 fear. And I've been there where I've got sucked down into those rabbit holes. And fear sells, but you wonder why.
I think it's the other way around, Mel. I think what ends up happening, you get excited, you get pumped up, you get high vibration, you're smiling, and it becomes a lot easier to see the positivity then. When they say fake it until you make it, that's a good exercise for a while, because you start recognizing the patterns that are necessary to stay positive. But to be able to see positivity in anything is an amazing inner ability to have. It helps with gratitude, because without gratitude you can't have abundance, because how do you know what you have?
Oh, sorry.
What?
Oh no, I didn't hear anybody talking, and I was starting to say something, and then realized that it was it must be my internet.
What?
So.
Behave, Bob. Behave.
So
Army.
now, how do we recognize positivity? In my opinion, is beauty. My personal goal, one of the primary ones, is to seek beauty. And when I say seek beauty, even in tragic situation, even in dire circumstances, it's easy to acknowledge all the negative aspect of it, but as long as you're capable of finding positivity, that reinforces that state of mind, and that keeps your vibration up higher. I suspect that we are a reflection of our action following our intention. So our consciousness is rising and it's pulling our body with it. That's why we're getting all these physical changes. I mean, we haven't started talking about the crazy stuff as the human anatomy seems to have changed. And when you get into that segment of Mandela Effect, it puts a different perspective on it. So
yeah, but that relates to form and function, isn't it? Like the remember I was reading a book recently, and a guy, the author, is very knowledgeable in how form relates to function, and that seems to apply to me to the anatomical changes, because our energy field, our chakras, meridians, aura, soul, whatever terminology you want to use, is dictated by its form, is dictated by our physical form, because it's our physical form that draws in energy from everything around us, from, you might say, Gaia, but from the earth and all matter, and that then gets transmitted throughout our chakra system and into our energy field. So if our energy field, and therefore our consciousness, is changing, then our physical form has to change. Now, I don't know if one comes before the other. I think it's a feedback. It's a feedback system. So if our consciousness changes, our physical form changes. If our physical form changes, our consciousness changes. And that's how you get spiritual healing, distance healing, the power of prayer to heal. Because that is the deliberate and conscious action of applying that principle of consciousness affecting physical form. But it can be done via the energy body. So because if you change the energy body, you change the physical form. Burma, you're going to know a lot about this.
Wait, can I share something really quick, you guys?
No, she was talking to me. Oh, she just keeps talking. She's like, "Hey, look, can I talk about something? Can I? No," and then just goes. Sorry, Michelle. I couldn't help myself.
I just wanted to add to what she was talking about with the, the energy and the physical form and things like that. I experienced something that I can only explain as a very, very powerful love embrace. It was beyond anything that I had ever experienced, and it lasted approximately about 5 minutes. The love was so pure, so unconditional, and so powerful that it made everything that I experienced here seem dull. Now, I know that there is one other person on this panel who has experienced such a profound love embrace. And I'm wondering if anybody else here has had that experience where you feel like you are swimming in honey. It is so thick and golden and just rich and beautiful. And you realize at that point that there's nothing you could possibly do wrong, that there's such love. You were looked at in such love and adoration that everything you do, these loving eyes are watching you, and the love that radiated off of whatever came close to my being. I've never experienced anything like that before, but then again, a lot of these experiences that I'm having are first time, they're life-changing. They are life-changing. But I'm not going to, I'll let the other person on this panel, if they want to share about their experience with this, but I'm wondering, has anybody else here had such an experience that happened to them?
I definitely had gone through a few experiences with love, and the main love that I feel that it's out there that surrounds us all is what people call Gaia, Mother Earth. I just describe her as Mother. Some might look at it as Mother Goddess, or however anyone wants to look at it. I don't discriminate, as long as you understand that within your being. that's what the important part is. And I definitely see the reason for love and the depths of information that it consists of.
Yeah, I think the scripture says God is love.
Oh, pure love, absolutely.
Yeah.
There she goes.
Yes. Sorry,
Sure.
I was getting a cup of coffee. Yeah, I mean, my experience with that was, what happened to me was, I think it was either the end of 2012 or 2013, but my cat had gone missing. And anyone who knows me knows I'm fanatical about my cats. And she'd gone missing by this point for 4 weeks. And I was in bits, absolutely in bits. And distraught. That's in case you don't understand what I mean by that. And it was late one night. It was a week before Christmas, and I had driven out to look for her, as I was doing almost every, very, very often in my car, and because I couldn't sleep, and so I was. It was about 2 a.m., something like that, and I was out and I was just crying in my car, and I remember just in my head thinking, why would you do this? Why would you do this? Because I was suffering really badly with depression, and I thought, well, what did they want me to do? You know, so if God or whoever had done this, you know, was this just to tip me over the edge? And then my thought processes changed, and I thought, well, look at it from say it's God. Look at it from God's perspective. Why would God do this? Why would He take my baby away? And I realized that it's a lesson, because I hadn't been appreciating the good things I had in my life. And as soon as I realized that, I've got this sense of affirmation and this amazing sense of like unconditional love filming. And I knew that I would get her back. And I made a promise to God that if He brought her back, then I would look at religion with an open mind for the first time. And I went home and went to bed, and about 6 or 8 hours later, I got a telephone call, and she'd been found. And I got her back that evening, and I just couldn't believe it. And it was just such an amazing experience. But it really made me start looking at religion in a new light, because suddenly I imagine if I'd been in a church and had that experience, I would have been like, oh my God, God is real, and I'm a born again Christian or whatever, depending on what facility I was in at the time. And that just made me look at life in a new light after that. It was just incredible, it really was. And I've had a sense of that many times since, but not as profound as that experience. I think because my depth of despair wasn't as bad as that night. But I can now kind of access it at will almost. So especially during meditation. And meditation is amazing for that, for connection to whether you think it's God or source or creator or whatever your beliefs are. But meditation is an amazing thing for that. Anyone else had a similar experience?
Well, that gives you something to definitely look forward to. I noticed that, even though our journeys are different, we go through, similar things just at different times. And since, Mandela and I have had this, it's definitely something to look forward to. And if that's any kind of indication of where we're going or what we're going to be surrounded in, oh my goodness. Wow, you guys, we're in for some really amazing, wonderful times.
Yeah, because it's similar to what many people report in near-death experiences, isn't it? That sense of love and peace and joy. And many report that they've never wanted to come back because of that experience. And I can definitely understand that if it's anything like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you, because when it ended, everything seemed so dull, and I was like, oh, how can I go on? But then, after a little bit of time, I recovered from that, and then it got to, oh my gosh, this is what we have to look forward to. This is where we're heading. This is how, if God is looking down on us, this creator, that's how He looks at us, with this perfect, just there's no judgment. It's completely unconditional. It will bring you to tears. The love is so powerful, so powerful. I don't even think I got full volume. I think at full volume, I probably would have went pop and disappeared, because it was so thick and powerful and just radiated. And well, and like I said, we all seem to go through the journey that we go through. They're individual, and so each of us, but there's a lot of similar stages that we go through. And the Mandela Effect being a manifestation, showing that there's a lot of people going on this journey, and also our group coming together the way we are, from different backgrounds and cultures, and coming together all on this very same journey. It doesn't matter about our history. It doesn't matter none of that matters. But that formation of us, as Magi, using Magi's words, assemblage, for us to congregate together and find each other, and give testimony. And so we know that the journeys are similar, maybe not in the same order. So by her and I having a similar experience, that's something you guys, I really want you to experience. I hope you get to experience it. And I think since there's a lot of similarities in the journeys that we go through, that you will experience it. And then you'll be like, oh my gosh, you guys, and you'll be just bursting, wanting to tell us about it. And we'll be right there to listen, because, it's just a wonderful thing. It's beyond words. We can't really do it justice. The experience itself, when you have it, there's no mistaking it, and you won't be able to put the proper words on it to do it justice.
I definitely agree with you on that. There's not a word that describes it. And also meditation. Meditation definitely is a a good step on a spiritual path. Either you're just starting to awake, or if you're curious.
What I like about that is on the path with heart, we all walk hand in hand. We're not higher or lower. We're just sharing what each of us have assembled. So, yeah, I totally agree with that. Well said. And we do it by action back there in the process of it anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just I see, like, just experiences I've been through. I've learned, and I've also seen others go through totally different experiences, and maybe not so much of a bumpy road to learn that same thing. But I do understand that that's what my experiences was needed for me to learn what I needed to learn. And like you're saying before, that it's something that's within us. I do agree with that. expressing itself within our environment around us.
Wasn't it kind of tailored to our lives, right? You know, for each one of us, we're going through these experiences, and it's tailored for you. You know, I mean, that's, you know, even though we might have like, you know, similar stories, you know, or they might be totally this far away from each other, but we all come to the same point, you know, of what we're understanding, whether it's the Mandela effect or, you know, much bigger aspects than that.
Yeah, that's like I said, I think even if it's different. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just wondering when Mel went, because she had asked me a question earlier, and I totally lost track of what she asked me. I was going to answer it. But go ahead, Magi.
Yeah,
She's like, oh my God, she's talking to me, and I walked away. I like that picture, Magi, by the way. Your icon picture.
What I was going to say, though, it seemed like we still gathered and had some rough spots and still do.
Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I've got a wireless keyboard, and I was on mute, and my batteries went. I couldn't get it off mute. That's why I've been silent for so long.
Berman said you asked her a question earlier. No.
Berman, I'd asked you about your experience with working with energy, because I was talking before about the connection between our higher consciousness or energy and our physical body, and how both are interconnected so strongly and inform each other. And I thought you definitely have a lot to say in your experience about what you've witnessed with that.
Wow, it's a big question, because it's yeah, I mean, both of them are interconnected. I mean, everything is. So if you have, you know, issues and you're going through stress and you're worrying about things that you can't do anything about, then it's wasteful worrying. And that first, it manifests in your body. It manifests in your muscles first, and then your organs second. So sometimes when, and I hate to say this, and it could be a combination of things, but this is one of those combinations, is that it can cause cancer. If people let things go on for too long, say something happened way back when in their childhood or something, and something that they just shoved down, you know, all these emotions that they just carried down, then it has to come out somewhere, and it's going to. So sometimes people get illnesses or people get sick and they don't understand, and the energy gets stuck in places like in your shoulders or whatnot. And you can energetically help a person to heal, but ultimately, if they don't take care of that emotional distress within them, it's not going to move. You're not going to be able to heal from it. You know, so I think everybody needs to really sit quietly and listen to their bodies too, because your body will tell you everything. You know, you ever get those cravings for certain things, or you're sitting there and you're watching TV and you're doing one of these numbers, or you're rubbing your face and you don't even realize it, or if you hit yourself and you're like, you rub that area like this, oh my goodness, ouch, 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 right? There is something, there are like endorphins and things that your body already knows how to do. It's helping that area by doing this, and you don't even think about it. It's like you're watching TV and you rub your leg, and it's an area that has a problem. So you have to go through like dealing with your emotional baggage and doing what I call shadow work, which I think we all need to do. I mean, even us that have done a lot of it, we still have to constantly be in there doing it. But just, I always say to people too, like I like going on YouTube and I like checking things out and you know, like being worldly, but you have to be careful how long you stay in the dark. So remember when you were telling me, when you were saying to everybody about watching YouTube and like to get into those rabbit holes, and you go down deep in the rabbit holes, you gotta, you know, you have to come up for air every so often. You know, you can't understand the light until you're in the darkness. There's the contrasting. We live in a dualistic world, but yeah. Did that kind of answer your question? I mean, I went like in a big circle, round and about.
No, it does. Yeah, because I was talking about how, you know, your state can and will affect your physical state. And you're right. I mean, no, the thing with the rabbit holes and going down into the more negative emotion is the more practiced you are at getting out of that, then each time it's easier to get out of that. And you become more cognizant of your own emotional state. So you become more aware of, you might become more aware of, okay, today I'm going to be a bit short-tempered. And so you start to observe yourself more from an observer's point of view, rather than just allowing yourself to be emotionally driven all the time, with almost subconsciously without being able to help it.
I think it's almost keeping a distance, right? I mean, that's what I have to do. If I get too much involved, then it starts coming out in my emotions. It starts like, and any one of these panelists can tell you on Discord that sometimes I can even get that way. So I think that we need to emotionally be.
I vouch for that.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Much love. so so we have to emotionally kind of push it to the like, so it's here and we're back here and you can view it, you can check it out, you can see what, like, all the BS that is there, and then come back to where you need to be in your space and know that that space is okay, and it's okay for you to not be happy with that, but not bring that non-happiness into us. Look, I'm just answering my own crap. I just need to do that for myself now. See how that happens.
Yeah. Well, we all do that, don't we? But
Yeah.
This is where meditation is so important, isn't it? Because, I mean, there's been a few times in meditation that it's brought me to tears because of that feeling of peace and love and joy. And I think once you experience that deliberately in meditation, it's almost training yourself on how to access that. It's almost like you open a doorway, and that doorway is never shut again. It's only pulled ajar when you're not in meditation. So there's always a low level of that energy seeping out into you. But if you need it, then you can just push that door open a bit, even when you're not in meditation, to access that again. So this is why, like, meditation, I think, is so critical to this. And it's, to me, it should be taught to all children. It really should, because most of my life, I thought meditation was just a load of rubbish, really. I just, you know, somebody said to me, like, 10 years ago, oh, I meditate, I'd have laughed at them. If they'd asked me, do I meditate, I would have giggled and said, yeah, right. It's not until you do it and you access that, you realize just how critical it is to everybody.
It's profound, actually. I mean, really,
yeah.
Some of the times can be profound. And when you're then meditating in a group, holy freaking balls, Batman. Is that bad? Can I say that? No, can I say that?
I don't know.
It's I'm so sorry. If I have to apologize later, I'm apologizing before, just in case.
Yes, YouTube AI, please don't shut the live stream down.
Please. I mean, it was Batman, and it's a figure of speech. But yeah, I mean, like, even like I do that when I'm driving. I you know, that's one of my hardest times to, like, conquer that. And so I'll go to that space partially, you know what I mean? So I can be nice and calm and not like, Irma. What do you mean, watch out? Is there somebody coming?
Somebody behind you.
I wanted to tell you guys, I had a spiritual meeting tonight. That's why I was late coming back. So it was kind of amazing, and I will update you guys about it later. But we meditated in that, and that was amazing. It was a whole entire group of us, like 20 people, all spiritual. And
wow.
I mean, I was getting goosebumps. It was really, really cool. It's really cool.
Wow.
So I mean, I always tell people meditation is the key. I mean, it's the key to learning yourself, isn't it? The key to your higher being, and to really be at peace with yourself. You know what I mean? Because we need to love ourselves, and not in the ego sense love ourselves, but love ourselves before we can give that love to other people.
Yeah.
So,
and it teaches you, for example, one of the skills it's taught me is when I'm in a stressful, because I wasn't really aware that I'm an empath, because that's another thing we found when this community first got together, the Mandela Effect. You know, we're doing like online tests. We found that everybody was a very highly scoring empath, and I didn't really understand what that meant. But once I was aware of it and started to learn the skills of meditation, etc., you become more aware. So when you're an empath, you will react to other people's energetic states, and physically and emotionally, as well as spiritually. And one of the tools you can learn through meditation is how to become more aware of when that's happening or is likely to happen. So, for example, once you become aware of it, if you spend time with somebody who is always stressed, who is always like my glass is half empty kind of person, as an empath, that will affect how you feel. And you may find that for a day or two afterwards, you feel drained, you feel exhausted, you feel down emotionally. But you can learn through meditation the skill to shield yourself from those effects. And, you know, the way I do that is I visualize, because it's all about visualization, because what you visualize is real. I know that sounds cuckoo, but it is. What you visualize actually is real, because that is your consciousness affecting the energy of your spiritual body as well as your physical body. So if you visualize yourself in like a bubble, a sphere of energy, that their energy cannot get in, cannot overlay, then it's almost like putting yourself in bubble wrap. You shield yourself from the effects of those negative thoughts and emotions. And it really does work. Absolutely. For me, anyway, I find it really effective.
I'm going to have to try that. Although I will say that even, you know, I do work in the energetic all the time. And I had this one that came in. Let me tell you what, that girl, and as high as I was trying to keep myself as far as my vibration was concerned, it was tough. It was really tough. She just was a big pile of always never happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
no matter what was going on in her life. I'm like, let me ask you. I said, you know, do you have a house? Do you live in? Yes. I said, can you pay for that house on your own? Yes, I can. You have a good job, right? Yeah. Okay. You have food in your cabinets? Yeah. You have a car to drive? Yeah. I said, you could pay for all that by yourself? She said, yeah. I said,
wow,
what?
You're rich.
What are you, I mean, like, you know, for a woman in this day and age to have all those things, to have this beautiful house, I've been in her house, you know, why are you not happy? Because you don't have a guy? Well, maybe you need to be happy within, and that's what the universe is truly teaching you. But you know, I mean, that's a big pill to swallow for some people. Yeah, she as much as I tried, and some people just aren't ready. And that's the thing too. When you are in service to others to try to help other people, you also have to realize when some people aren't ready. Some people just aren't ready. And then it has to be on them to get through what they need to get through to move forward with whatever it is, you know. I mean, everybody's is a little different. So, but yeah, she was, let me tell you, I mean, in some ways it was like when I knew she was coming, I was like, okay, prepare, please, you know, because it was really draining. It was very draining. So if I knew the bubble thing, or even thought about bringing that into that of the mental thing, I might have been a little bit better. She might have not pulled so much from me, you know. It's just, you know, it's just like how you feel. Say again. I'm sorry, honey.
Give it a try next time, and make sure you cut the cords afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's the other thing. People will attach. We all do it. So, for example, if I think of Burma, then there is metaphysically there is an energetic attachment between me and her. And if I think of Bob, there'll be an energetic attachment between me and Bob. And those attachments will stay until one or either of us breaks them. And attachments can be neutral, they can be positive. So if I feel a loving thought towards Burma, then that attachment will send more loving energy, be a positive attachment. If I have hateful thoughts for somebody, so I'm just going to use you, Burma, sorry, but to Burma, then that energy would be a negative one. Or if it's just she crosses my mind, it would be a neutral one.
You better send me stuff.
You know what I do? The negative ones can be really disastrously harmful because if you're not even aware of any of this, then you can have negative energy, of course, attached to you. Many of them throughout your life, and you're not aware of them. And they will constantly be bleeding a bit of energy off you. The energy that you absorb through Gaia every day that you need to thrive is being siphoned off slowly, very, very slowly. And the vast majority of people are completely oblivious to all of this. But you can break them. And that's one of the things you can do in meditation. So you can break the cords. So you can maintain the positive ones, the loving ones, but the ones that are negative to you, you can detach. And this is a vital skill to learn. Absolutely. If you all subscribe to my other channel, Amber's Place, I'm just developing it now. I've only got one meditation on it at the moment, but I do intend to put more on there. And I'll be doing simple meditations, demonstrating how I do these things. So you can start to learn how to pick up these skills and adapt them to yourself, what works for you. But I could just talk you through how I do it, the visualizations I use, in order to do many of the things I'm talking about. So it's a good idea to subscribe. As I do it, I'm not going to put loads of meditations on quickly, but I will be putting meditations on there and simple ones to help everyone do this kind of thing. So if you're listening, then in the description after we end this live stream, I will put a link to that channel in the description, as well as the channels of the panel members here who have channels.
Oh, isn't that nice of you? And you are wonderful at it. I mean, I have only caught a couple because, I've only caught a couple. But yeah, it's like I said, it's your calling. If you guys are all out there listening, definitely give it a shot because she's got this warm, soothing voice to bring you into the meditation, which is amazing. Actually, also, Mel, I have told a couple of my clients about you. So I'm hoping that once you get those up, then I can pass that on to them. Because I was telling them, like, go on YouTube. There's a lot of meditation. I have a friend that does it on Discord, and I'm explaining, and then I'm like, yeah, but she doesn't have anything up on her channel yet. So here it comes. Now I can tell.
I will get on with that.
It's exciting. It's exciting because I really do I felt for a while that it's kind of like a calling for you. I don't know why I feel that way though. You're welcome.
I know it's surprised me.
And also, I did put the invitation to Amber's Place Discord for Photo Helix because he was needing to vote. So I hope you got
yeah, fine.
And I think you put that in the description box.
Oh, well.
Also. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Everybody who's watching, we chat together every day on Islam. You can either download it as an app, but it's also like a website called Discord. It was originally for gamers, but it's got a lot of features that are very useful, and so it's used by a lot of other communities as well. You can either download it as an app onto your phone, or you can access it through the website, and or both. And it's got voice chat, it's got video chat, it's got text chat, and lots of other features. And there are servers on there, so people make servers. So there's a server called Amber's Place, which is for people similar minded to us to get together and talk. and to communicate, share video links, share information, help each other, lots of different things. So I will put an invitation to that server in the description of the video. And when you click on it, if you don't have Discord, it will take you to a prompt to either download the Android app or whatever app you've got, or the website. So one thing I would recommend is you have the option to use two-factor authentication with it. So you can download an app called Authenticator. It's just an extra layer of security, but you don't really have to have that. It's just a recommendation. But you just got to literally sign in, log in with your email and the password, and there you go. And the invite will take you directly to that server. And from there, you'll meet lots of other people who will give you invites to other servers and other communities. So it's a really good way to talk to like-minded people who are on similar paths. And you're all welcome to join. Okay. Anybody want... Magi, Bob, you've not spoken for a while. Captain? Anything you want to add or say?
I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for hosting it.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
What are you eating?
Had the snack.
Bob is a really good cook. He's really good with recipes.
Yes. I agree.
Magi, did you want to add anything?
No, I mean, it was a great show. I mean, I think we covered a lot, and it was very edifying.
Can anyone else hear Magi? Is it just me, or?
I can hear him.
Yes, I could hear him. It was a great show.
Yes, thank you for the invite. By the way, I'm sorry I didn't come in till late. It was a bit of a long day. But then you guys were talking about the Mandela Effect, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta talk to you guys.
I know, right?
Well, I just
I
love
know,
it.
right?
You know, isn't it amazing that there's still so much of that going on, that it's also like there's still major things taking place even still today. So there's still so many people coming in and learning about the Mandela Effect. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I can hear you. And Magi keeps flashing up on the main screen. Is he talking? And I can't hear him, or?
No.
No, good. I don't want to talk over him.
What's the prize? I'm asking for Bob.
The prize?
Yeah, I want a prize.
A meditation.
Awesome.
Ah, we'll
Can I
take
get
that.
2 tickets? I want to participate twice.
Yes. we get a group meditation. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
You know, Bob's had many days of being spunky now. I think we need to take a spunky level down. What are you eating? Cut it in half. I'm just messing around, Bob. I can't even help myself.
But I still get to eat both halves, right? Just cut it in half.
Half and half, which is only really a half.
Right.
He'll make us share a half. He'll eat the other half.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, we got you. I know. I was trying to explain to Photo Helix. No, Bob is a very deep spiritual. He's just, being a class clown, just in case.
He's trying to take over my job. Bob, don't take over my job, Bob.
He's like the stuff Bob was saying in chat. Oh my gosh, he is on. He's on, totally on.
He's just being odd, yeah.
No, he's on. I mean, like, he's on stage.
Well, on or off, however you want to look at it, Michelle.
This is true. This is true.
Half a dozen of one, half a dozen of the other.
But you know what? If there's not a dash of humor, I mean, really, we have to have that dash of humor. Or, because this is
I just want to say that if I was still talked about by you, Burma, that's an honor. Just so that, to school you a little bit before the night's over. That's all. I mean, with all respect.
I know you were starting to scrap with me in Discord about me not coming in. I know. He's trying to scrap with me today a little bit. It's okay. You know why? Because I meditated and I'm good. You see how
I love friendly arguments.
You see how mellow I am today? I'm just like, I don't even care right now.
It's
Can
the
I leave this
lithium and the
comment?
chemtrails.
Listen to this comment before it disappears on me. It's
Of course you can.
and then he said, wrote, I heard someone say once, I do not give to others because I have a lot to give. I give because I know what it is like to be without. That is so beautiful.
That
Love
is,
Actually, when I read it,
yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
beautiful, beautiful.
That is.
Love it.
But that's true.
That
That's
makes
the
me
reason
think
that we should.
of, yeah,
Oh.
exactly. That makes me think of this service to others concept. Many people like go through life and they try to help others, but their motivations are not necessarily primarily to help others. Obviously, that's a bonus, but their motivation is because they have a deep-seated lack of self-esteem or self-belief, and so they help others so that other people will then say, aren't you such a nice person? And that's to reinforce, because they really inside have this problem where they feel they're not a good person. And that's normally because they've been told, or by words or deeds or emotions through their life, that they're not. They've got a lot of self-recrimination and doubt. And that's not being service to others, that's being service to self, primarily. And so there's a lot of people who are in that boat, and I was one of them. And it's really quite difficult to realize that about yourself, but that's part of this journey, is learning about yourself. Why are you like that? And why do you have these feelings of self-doubt that you're not good enough or not worthy enough? And until you access that part of yourself, then you can't get into a state of real peace and be able to really love yourself. And if you can't love yourself, you can't truly love somebody else either. Because that's the other problem people do. They get into relationships because they're looking for somebody else to reassure them that they're a good person or that they're worthy. But they're never going to really feel that way, because that hole is always inside. So it's really important that people work on themselves to fill those holes up.
Yeah,
Sorry,
say
I
don't
just
get this.
wanted to say that.
I'll say not. I would add, not to get discouraged. As we talked about back in Discord prior, a lot of us, to know ugly, to know beauty, you got to know ugly. Or if you see beauty, how do you know that it's beauty if you've never experienced ugly? So in that form, it probably explains a lot of the down wave, so to speak, that we go through. And from my experience, every time there's a down wave, there's that up wave that is coming up right behind it, and whatever happened in that down wave, or the bad experiences that one might go through, it's set up for that up wave. And if that experience didn't happen, then that up wave couldn't happen. And so it's just about getting that surfboard and going ahead and riding those waves out.
And to be okay that horses have mustaches now.
If they got them, they got them.
I mean, oh my goodness! I mean, that was out of like nowhere.
Yeah.
I still like the monkey though. That monkey was like, oh, his mustache, his little handlebar mustache. He's a cutie patootie too.
They got cute butts too. That's all I gotta say. Oh my goodness! Oh my
What's
goodness!
our favourite manned animal?
What's that?
Mine's a pink dolphin. What's our favourite manned animal? A manned
Blue
animal
lions.
people is go on.
I like the
Blue
narwhal.
lion. Yes.
I like the narwhal, but my second favorite would definitely be the monkey that Bob posted. But I don't know if that's a manned animal or not. That was an awesome monkey.
And put a little hat on him and a little pipe in his mouth, a little corncob pipe. Aw, he's adorable. You know he's adorable. That Mandanimal, that if he's a Mandanimal, I really like that monkey. But hey, I heard that we have like pink dolphins and these odd colored creatures and the blue lion and all. I mean, there's some amazing stuff going on. I don't know if I could pick a favorite.
Did you guys see the blue lava? Volcano lava. Blue. Yeah. Blue volcano lava. Yeah, it's like something that happens with a lot of sulfur in it, and they can only see it at night, but it's blue. Oh, it's so pretty.
Wow. What about the upside down rainbows and the Rainbow Mountains and the Great Wall of Pakistan?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Great Wall. I love that one. Like that kind of bothers me because like why wouldn't they have like taught us that? I mean, they didn't teach us about Tesla, so who knows, right? But at the same time, another Great Wall. Yeah, that one gets me a little bit.
Yeah. A few now. I heard there's a few. There's a few Great Walls.
Pretty soon, the US will have one too. We'll have our own Great Wall.
This is true. This is very true.
Keep people out or keep people in. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be a little of both.
Yep.
We're trying to run out. They're trying to run in.
Can be used either way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll be able to see it from both sides and underneath.
I might be going over the other way. I might be coming out actually up north. So get ready, Bob.
You won't make it past the cold barrier.
I made past there once already.
All right.
Yeah, they let me right in. I can't even believe that. I had a harder time getting back in the U.S. You gotta be a Canadian. Just like going through Border Patrol down in Texas. Oh my goodness, this is funny. So I'm going through Border Patrol in Texas, and they're like, "Are you a Mexican?" I mean, I'm not trying to be mean here. Like, I think there's a difference in skin color, just a little bit. I'm kind of Irish and Scottish, right? You know what I mean? I was like, no habla English.
You're definitely white.
Blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yes, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm driving the truck. It's got, you know, I think that the plates on it were like Nebraska tags. You know what I mean? Like. I need a tan anyway. I lost mine already. Oh, funny.
Cool. Well, has anyone else got anything else to add, or should we end it now?
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, I think it went really well. Thanks, Mel. Thanks for having me on.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Mel. This was awesome. Another night. I wasn't expecting this the second night. That's like awesome.
Yes. Thank you, Mel. You're an amazing host.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Okay, thanks to everyone for coming.
Let's jump.
And thanks for watching and listening to us chat. Thanks, Magi. And like I said, I will put links to everyone's channels if I have one in the description. Not straight away, but I will do it within the next 24 hours. And invites to Discord. Michelle, can you put an invite to Discord in the live chat now for us, please?
Sure.
Can come into Discord now if they want to.
Yeah, I'm guessing we'll meet there afterwards.
Okay, I'm just going to assume you said yes because my technology is playing me up tonight. So
it is done.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll be back soon talking about another topic when inspiration hits us very soon. We've always got lots of topics to talk about. Okay, good night, everybody.
Good night.
No.
I think so, brother.
Once I can get my keyboard to work, I will actually end this podcast.
I hope so.